With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. So how can you get started using Globus? Anyone can use Globus right now for free to transfer files between Globus-enabled systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus.
Yo. Yo. What up, though? Excuse me. Oh, what up, though? How we doing? I missed y'all. Got 2 sets of Paxlovid left to go through, and then I will be done with that. I don't have a basis for comparison, so I can't say that Paxlovid is better. Other than I seem to be doing better than other people in the house who haven't had Paxlovid, theoretically. But that's not a good scientific experiment. Oh. We got a lot to get to. So let's get to it. So recently the one of the founders of DeepMind estimated that they would get the hallucination issue under control within 2 years. Sam Altman made a similar claim. This article opens with text experts are starting to doubt that ChatGPT and AI hallucinations will ever go away. This isn't fixable. Let's see the support for this claim. And this is an article. This is reporting. This isn't an opinion piece. Right? It is Matt O'Brien and the Associated Press. I don't think there's any model today that doesn't suffer from some hallucination. And Daniela Amodei, co-founder and president of Anthropic, they really just sort of designed to predict the next word, and so there will be some rate at which the model does that inaccurately. Making the models more truthful. This isn't fixable, said Emily Bender, a linguistics professor and director of the University of Washington's Computational Linguistics Laboratory. It's inherent in the mismatch between the technology and the proposed use cases. Background. Sam Altman quote, 1.5 years, 2 years. Some experts, such as Bender, those improvements won't be enough. Bender describes a language model as a system for modeling the likelihood of different strings of word forms, given some written data it's been trained upon. Tells spell checkers. It also helps power automatic translation and transcription, smoothing the output to look more like typical text in the target language. When used to generate text, language models are designed to make things up. That's all they do, Bender said. They're good at mimicking forms of writing, such as legal contracts, television scripts, and sonnets. But since they only ever make things up when the text they have extruded happens to be interpretable as something we deem correct, that is by chance. Even if they can be tuned to be right more of the time, they will still have failure modes, and likely the failures will be in the cases where it's harder for a person reading the text to notice because they are more obscure. Doo-doo. Orlick. Who is Orlick? Shane Orlick. Jasper AI. Hallucinations are an added bonus. I think they have to fix this problem. They've got to address this. So I don't know if it's ever going to be perfect, but it'll probably continue to get better and better over time. Bill Gates, I'm optimistic that over time AI models can be taught to distinguish fact from fiction. Yeah. So according to Bender, Emily Bender, they don't think it can be fixed. And that's tech experts. One person. Maybe they're right. Maybe they are right. There are virtually unlimited ways to bypass Bard and ChatGPT's safety rule, AI researchers say, and they're not sure how to fix it. A group of researchers said they have found ways to bypass the content moderation of AI chatbots. No way to patch. We just don't know how to make them secure. So who is this researcher? Zico Coulter, an associate professor at CMU, was involved in a study. Armando Solar Lezama, a computing professor at MIT, told Wired that it was extremely surprising the attacks, which were developed on an open source AI model, should work so well on mainstream systems. I believe this is just covering what was covered by AI Explained on last Monday. Got some articles regarding the superconductor. I am going to put them into the Discord. My understanding at this point in time is it is feasible. There are issues with the amount of current that you can run through it. What I got from Computer was something along the lines of 500 milliamp hours, which isn't enough to really accomplish a lot. But could lead to something in the future, and some of the other things, like, it's generally plausible. It's just whether or not it's actually something, right? Like it's the breakthrough that it seemed to be. There's some excuse me. There's some good news. We talked about Henrietta Lacks a while back. There's been a settlement reached. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump, shout out Ben Crump. Ben Crump is a real one. Filed a lawsuit in 2021 on behalf of Henrietta's estate. And it's a confidential deal. But Henrietta's cell line is like, it's everywhere. It's offered freely and widely by Johns Hopkins for scientific research. So it's good to see that the family like gets something out of this, as they should. This has been an important cornerstone for scientific research, and the fact that the family did not receive like compensation off jump. I mean, it's not surprising, but it's not you know just it indicates that the problems continue. All right, so look at this. This is terrible. Before we even get into talking about it, look at it. Like, dude has a white shirt. You are using a off-white lettering. Just get your shit together. Jesus Christ. So, a bunch of companies in Europe are investigating. We're going to talk about WorldCoin for the next three articles. Germany announced Friday that it has been quietly investigating WorldCoin, a new iris scanning cryptocurrency venture by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, which seemingly brings the total number of European investigations into the scheme up to three, signaling what could be a tough regulatory road ahead for the project. Germany's a big one in the European Union. They swing a lot of power, and this is Germany, France, and the UK. That is, if you don't get those countries on board, then you're fucked. Um, as Futurism and Gizmodo have both noted, when they sent their reporters to get their irises scanned by the project, for instance, orb operators didn't require any prior identification or verification that the participants are who they say they are. Participants in the project trial run in the developing world have said that they felt cheated by the exchange, and it's not clear whether a person can request to have their information scrubbed from the company's database since it involves a blockchain. The company has been circulating a white paper which claims that two separate firms have found that WorldCoin was secure on a number of fronts, including data privacy, data leaking, and information integrity. All the same, neither these European data watchdogs and even Ethereum co founder, whose blockchain WorldCoin lives on, are convinced this is the kind of proof of personhood project is ready for prime time. If even one orb manufacturer is malicious or hacked, it can generate an unlimited number of fake iris scan hashes and give them world IDs. Bottom line, until we learn more about what makes WorldCoin tick and what it's doing with our data, we're not convinced. Well, I'm not convinced you know how to, set up an article, but they're not wrong otherwise. They're not wrong otherwise. Kenya. Kenya suspends Sam Altman's eyeball scanning crypto project. Kenya is pumping the brakes on WorldCoin, the eyeball scanning crypto project launched by OpenAI founder Sam Altman. The Kenyan government has ordered WorldCoin to stop collecting data in the country while it reviews the project for potential privacy and security risks. Background. According to a report from Rest of World, Kenyans received 25 WorldCoins, amounting to around 7,100 Kenyan shillings, about $50, just for signing up for the service. Rest of World also notes that relatively few people were familiar with the goals of the project and were instead looking to get the $50 reward. As a result of the suspension, authorities had to turn away thousands of people waiting in line to get their iris scanned. And then it references the European article. And then finally, WorldCoin says what up, Adam? Says will allow companies, governments to use its ID system. WorldCoin will expand its operations to sign up more users globally and aims to allow other organizations to use its iris scanning and identity verifying technology. Not 100, I would say like 75. Say about 75, 80%, right? But normally, like, I feel like I'm at like an 80%. So it's like I'm 80% of 80%. And then now we're getting into weird fraction math. But I'm functional. I ain't dying. I got a round of Paxlovid tonight and a round of Paxlovid tomorrow morning. And so, still a little coffee, a little occasional mucus. But it's funny because my doctor was not going to prescribe me Paxlovid until I told him that I had started smoking cigarettes again. And then he decided that I should have the Paxlovid. And I don't understand how that works exactly. Like, cigarette saved my life. Yeah. So then I'm at about 64% of like 100% person and 80% of my 80% normal self. Um, Companies could pay WorldCoin to use its digital identity system. For example, if a coffee shop wants to give everyone one free coffee, then WorldCoin's technology could be used to ensure that people do not claim more than one coffee without the shop needing to gather personal data. The idea is that as we build this infrastructure and that we allow other third parties to use the technology. I don't know. It all seems still kind of vague to me. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the. Yeah. I'm not gonna push it too hard. I'm just like going over the articles and then got some videos and like I feel well enough for all of that. You know what I mean? And I got my water. I'm drinking my fluids. But yeah, I don't like I understand what people are telling me about how blockchain works. I still don't understand how it makes a good currency. So what was this? Fighting fake facts with two little words. Okay, so this is I actually opened up in the middle with that. If you were here at the beginning, that um article about hallucinations. So I'm gonna grab that and I'm gonna put that over here. Okay. So this is basically a response to issues of hallucination, right? It's the idea of a grounding prompt, right? Um, so, in what part of the digestive tube do you expect the initial digestion of starch without grounding prompt? And then by adding in, according to Wikipedia, is the grounding prompt, then you will get reference. And how does it work? Um, They found that, according to prompts, successfully directed language models to ground their responses against previously observed text rather than hallucinating false answers. The models are more likely to directly quote the requested source, just like a journalist would, the team says. Language models are really good at following syntactic and semantic cues, Weller explains, since according to is more likely to occur online when a news article quotes a source. An LLM may take the prompt as a clue to search specifically for quotations from its training data. We're seeing to improve knowledge grounding by causing LLMs to quote directly from underlying trusted resources that they've seen during training. Our goal is for the models to access helpful content, such as strings memorized from high quality or trusted documents. The according to prompt technique works well with a wide variety of LLMs without the need for human adjustment. However, they claim it's most successful when used with larger models and in tandem with instruction tuning, which is when a model is trained with instructions like answer the question with the correct answer. What up, Letty? In addition to typical question-answer pairs. It's also important to note that although the text generated by the model may be present in Wikipedia or whatever source you specify, it doesn't automatically make the output generation correct with respect to the question asked. So, again, okay, so the idea behind the LLM, the broad strokes, is that it needs to be a natural language model, right? Like that you can speak to it as you would speak to another person. There are still going to be some kind of qualifiers to that, in that, there, specific phrasing, clarity of question, there, and you, I think that as you were able to train a specific AI model for yourself, then you would get better outcomes over time, right? Because then it would learn how you speak. I don't know how much this is required now, but way back in the day when you early on had voice recognition software, you had to spend time with it and say the same phrase a bunch of different ways to teach it your cadence and your enunciation and things like that in order to get it to respond, most often. And I still think there's some of that exists within that, though there's less of it off the shelf. There's a bunch of stuff that you can just talk to, and it has better fuzzy logic for understanding, what you might be saying in the broad sense. But I still think there's, we got to meet each other part way in order to make these things at their most effective. Gotta love an article that starts with UK spy agencies. UK spy agencies want to relax burdensome laws on AI data use. Okay, whatever it is, I'm against it. The UK intelligence agencies are lobbying the government to weaken surveillance laws they argue place a burdensome limit on their ability to train artificial intelligence models with large amounts of personal data. You want to talk about the biggest police state on the planet? I'll put the UK up against most of them. it's like it. I suppose it can go like it can kind of wash over you, but just watch. Trust me, watch British crime shows, and like holy cats, they're checking the CCTV data from all over the goddamn place. So no, I'm against it. I did not. Do you want to verify that statement, or would you like to say that it's not as bad as I'm painting it out? So yeah, either way, if I'm being okay, all right, um, yeah. So no, they can get fucked, right? This is one of those, if you're not doing anything wrong, then you have nothing to worry about kind of scenarios, and you know they can't be trusted. Um, this is I have so many mixed feelings going on here. Using AI, scientists bring Neanderthal antibiotics back from extinction. Neanderthals are extinct, but their molecules are back, and they just might save our lives. Jurassic Park. Yep, that's right where I went. What if instead of bringing back a whole species, we bring back just one tiny part, like a molecule? That's what scientists have just achieved at the University of Pennsylvania's Machine Biology Group. They resurrected molecules with antibiotic properties found in extinct organisms, specifically our close relatives, the Neanderthals and Denisovans, or Denisovans. Neanderthals went extinct 40,000 years ago, and Denisovans might have survived until 15,000 to 30,000 years ago. The breakthrough throws open the doors to a brave new world of molecular de extinction, which holds promise for drug discovery. And the researchers started gathering the sequenced genome data of Neanderthals and Denisovans, which is publicly available thanks to paleontologists who have painstakingly collected and analyzed ancient DNA from bones and artifacts. When they train, yes, yes, and it's like they did the thing where they crossed some DNA that they got out of the mammoths, and they made a meatball out of it, but then they wouldn't let anybody eat the meatball because the DNA in the meatball could kill people. It's just a really really weird situation, and probably not the best. Yeah. Using AI to ramp up the speed of antibiotic discovery. And this is why I have mixed feelings, is because we're using AI to fold proteins and generate new molecules and, assist in drug discovery. And if, while doing that, it basically creates a copy of something that existed in Neanderthal times, that is currently not on the earth for some reason, then what's the difference between the two of those? If it's the same molecule and it's not recreating it but creating it new, then I don't, you know. But again, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that it needs to go through before I would just, it's not going to be tomorrow that we start injecting people with all sorts of new and interesting molecules. proteins in our cells are like long strings. They often get cut up by enzymes into short fragments at special junctures. These short fragments, small molecules known as peptides, can have antimicrobial properties. So De La Fuente's team trained an AI model called PanCleave, which can look at all the proteins encoded in the genome and predict where the junctures will be. That way, the researchers could identify the peptides in the Neanderthal and Denisovan genomes. They then ran other models on the peptides to predict which ones would have antimicrobial properties. They weren't all slam dunks. When tested on infected mice, some of the peptides predicted to be strong candidates didn't manage to kill the bacteria. Others were effective but required high doses to work. That could mean researchers need to either revamp the predictive algorithm or retool the most promising peptides to make them more effective. So, could be a thing. Lots of interesting stuff happening. Actors and writers aren't the only ones worried about AI, new polling shows. Nearly half of Americans, 45% of them, are concerned about the effect artificial intelligence will have on their own line of work, compared to 29% who are not concerned. The level of concern is consistent across partisan lines and rises to 57% among 18 to 34-year-olds. Americans older than 55 were less likely to express concern about AI affecting their work. Almost two-thirds of American adults said they thought entertainment unions were justified in making AI a centerpiece of their negotiating demands. This is not just a Hollywood phenomenon, said Greg Cross, chief executive of AI avatar startup Soul Machines. AI is literally eating the world. This is just this sentence, right? This is a dude who's got an AI startup, and he's saying AI is literally eating the world, and I don't disagree. Like I think more people need to take AI seriously than are currently doing it, but at least. I mean, I suppose we can look at the methodology here. Okay. Download the report. Online survey. Well, I don't know that he's shooting himself in the foot as much as he, like, because again, I don't disagree. I just wouldn't have phrased it that way, right? Like, he may look at that and find nothing wrong with the way he stated that. I do. I don't think he stated it well. All right, so the methodology is around 1,000 people randomly recruited using Leo's online panel. Ledger is the polling firm that has presented the most accurate election survey data on average over the last 10 years in Canada. I'm going to defer and say that this is a good poll, right? I don't disagree with saying the impact of transformative nature of it. Yeah, I mean, he's a startup bro, so like he's going to speak strangely. The entertainment industry, we know about that. Torn of money, $22.7 billion in the first quarter. Hi, Ferris. Various industries, job security, asked whether disclaimers should be included on AI generated content. More of a consumer rights question. Almost 3/4 of those polled were in favor. That number rose to 80% among Americans 55 and up. Of those polled, 55% said they supported government regulation of AI, while 26% did not. Support for regulation is stronger, brace yourself, among people who voted for President Biden in 2020 than those who voted for former President Trump, but it represents the majority opinion on both sides of the divide. So at least I guess I could take some solace in the fact that, more people are taking it seriously, that they're running polls on it and whatnot. But so this is from Time Magazine. 4 charts that show why AI progress is unlikely to slow down. AI has surpassed humans at a number of tasks, and the rate at which humans are being surpassed at new tasks is increasing. So this is trying to match the blues, because this doesn't look like either of these blues. But if I follow in order here, I'm going to say that this is handwriting recognition, which started off in 1998, kind of peaked in 2003-ish, maybe a little earlier, flattened out, and then in 2012 dipped up above that 100%. Speech recognition, very mid for a long time until like right after 2012 in the 2013 range, and then very quickly got above 100%. And then image recognition has a much sharper incline until it's well above 100% in a period of, let's say, 2009 to 5 years. Reading comprehension is near vertical. Language understanding is near vertical from 2018. And common sense completion has a bit of a hard angle, and then almost straight up. And then grade school math and code generation are all in the 80s, maybe 90s, and heading straight up on a very sharp angle. Moore's Law. The amount of compute used to train AI systems has been increasing since 1950. The rate of increase increased in 2010. So it went from compute doubling every 20 months from 1950 to 2010. And then from 2010, compute doubling every 6 months. And you can see all the data points and the sharpness of the line of trend here. Number of data points used to train AI models has increased dramatically over the last 70 years. Again, it's some, not a whole lot, and then and each one of these is like, these are GANs. That's AlphaGo 0. Codex language model developed in 2021. NLLB. Llama. Palm 2. So again, you can see the accumulation of it happening as it moves along the graph. Algorithmic progress means that less compute and data are required to achieve a given level of performance. For a model trained on 1 trillion data points, a model trained in 2021 required 16,500 less compute than a model trained in 2012. So these are the downward trends of the amount of compute required, and then you have the increase in the amount of data available, and those are going to create a big change over time. For those of you who use Zoom, you might have seen a new terms of service. They're going to use your content for training AI without opt-out. If you use Zoom, then you are using it, or then you're allowing them to train your AI. It is entirely up to you. It will be helpful for the AI. I completely understand why you would not want to do that. I tend to...
The and the peril here are huge.
Thank you for the follow. I tend to avoid Zoom other than for the purposes of the D&D group that I used to be in. No opt-out is it's a big red flag. You use Zoom quite a bit, Lenny, so it's like you either have to come to terms with the fact that they're going to use your content for training the AI, or try and figure out another option. And friction is going to make that. Yeah, like a lot of people use Zoom. Broral, I don't know how to pronounce that. Broral, welcome. What up there, one black guy? Zoom users are the ultimate red flag. I'm not entirely in disagreement. Like, I tried to get my D&D group to use Discord. Brawl? Yeah, and that's another thing, Lenny. You're using it for business, right? Like, so how many companies are using Zoom for business, but, is there an issue of sensitive data there? Are companies going to react poorly to Zoom, because I know that there's a bunch of things with like education, right? Like when kids were doing the at-home learning, there's a bunch of issues with Zoom as far as like, there's kids involved, like, that kind of stuff. So this might not be over, right? People could lose their goddamn mind about it and like that. This is from today, so it's brand new. Hot. And then AI model can help determine where patients' cancer arose. Predictions from the OncoNPC model could enable doctors to choose targeted treatments for difficult to treat tumors. For a small percentage of cancer patients, doctors are unable to determine where their cancer originated. This makes it much more difficult to choose a treatment for those patients because many cancer drugs are typically developed for specific cancer types. The metastasize, that's it. In 3 to 5% of cancer patients, particularly in cases where tumors have metastasized throughout the body, oncologists don't have an easy way to determine where the cancer originated. These tumors are classified as cancers of unknown primacy. This lack of knowledge often prevents doctors from being able to give their patients precision drugs, which are typically approved for specific cancer types where they are known to work. These targeted treatments tend to be more effective and have fewer side effects than treatments that are used for a broad spectrum of cancers, which are commonly prescribed to CUP patients. A sizable number of individuals develop these cancers of unknown primary every year, and because most therapies are approved in a site-specific way where you have to know the primary site to deploy them, they have very limited treatment options. So that's cool. Like a tested model, about 7,000 tumors that it hadn't seen before. Site of origin was known. The model, which the researchers name OncoNPC, was able to predict the origins with about 80% of accuracy for tumors with high confidence predictions, which constituted about 65% of the total. Its accuracy rose to roughly 95%. So that's excellent. Like, that is, like I can see at least a roadmap to elimination of cancer, or at least a much higher ability to treat cancer within the relatively short term, decade, maybe 2. All right, that's it. That is it. You guys ready for some video? A little video.
So we've reached the end of Cat Royale. For 12 days, our 3 superstar cats have visited a little utopia and played with a robot. Today we had the highest rated game of all. For 7 minutes, Ghostbuster, Pumpkin and Clover took turns in playing with the feather helicopter. Had the AI worked its algorithmic magic to give them just the right thing at just the right time? Or was it the cats who led? Maybe they found a way to make their own fun together. As we look back over the 500 games that the AI offered to the cats, we've seen games which failed to grab their attention, and we've seen the AI learn to focus on games that the cats loved. The cats have had no problem with the robot, and were relaxed around it from the start. In fact, Clover and Ghostbuster queued up outside the room each morning, waiting to be let in. So what have we learned? Firstly, AI is a profoundly human process that's laborious and expensive. We tagged 7,500 video clips to train the computer vision system. A robot operator controlled every move of the robot arm. The system may be automated, but the automation is always being tweaked and monitored. Secondly, AI design must be multidisciplinary. We need many
Agreed.
voices in the room as we design solutions. On Cat Royale, we have had vets and computer scientists, experts in feline behaviour and roboticists, artists and computer vision specialists. And we've had an audience advisory panel of 15 members of the public from diverse backgrounds to guide us as we've developed this work. For the artist's perspective, here's Matt.
As the cats spent their last afternoon in the room, the whole team slowly gathered around the two-way mirrors to watch. I felt suddenly sad seeing Clover play with the robot for the last time. We've tried to measure her happiness, but maybe what Clover wants is not what she needs. Hopefully we've given her and Ghostbuster and Pumpkin a life-enriching experience, but we'll never know that. The cats in Cat Royale are, of course, us. We are experimenting with a culture that privileges choice and consumer power above all else. What does it mean when our every whim can be met by automated systems? When our desires can be met so quickly, the satisfaction that we seek becomes more fleeting and insubstantial as a result. And now that the most powerful companies on Earth can quickly roll out their products to billions of people with the goal of instant gratification, what costs might we pay for AI?
Thanks for watching the highlights of Cat Royale. If you want to follow the future of the project, head over to our website at blasttheory.co.uk/Cat Royale. And if you want a little fix of Clover, Pumpkin, and Ghost, why not watch again from day one?
It's kind of sad, like, because outside of, the points that they were trying to make, when they said how the cats would queue up waiting to be let in, and now what? Like, they never will be again? It's like, you're going to... They will never be allowed to go back in the room, and they won't understand why, right? Like, once you let a cat into a space, then they don't understand why they'd be denied for the space. It can. You're not wrong. It will be an interesting future in that regard. But by the same token, I don't know how... See, because there's a lot of presuppositions around our concept of instant gratification, and they are that we live in a society where we are in a world where we're denied so much to artificially build up our desire to have a thing. And then within that same framework, you're pointing at people who, like, I mean, what kind of time do you have for gratification? Right? You got to get up for work in the morning. Right? You got to go to work. You got to do your job. Maybe you got a 15-minute break, maybe a half-hour lunch. Do you have time for anything other than instant gratification? I'm not saying it's good, but I'm saying it is not so, like, it's not like we took humans who were living, fulfilling experiences and then offered them instant gratification. I'm saying that there's a whole framework of crap that we live in, and then we have these moments of pleasure. Having had more than I could handle of everything I could want, I could say from experience it's about as fun as having had nothing and sleeping on the side of the road. Maybe life has corrupted, perverted me, but just having what you think you want doesn't make you rich. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Like it is experiences tend to be subjective in that regard. But I would definitely like to see if I can use the term experiment, where we give everyone what they need to survive and then we go from there, right? And would they want a bunch of the stuff that they want now if they had less to worry about in those things? I am still alive. I am unkillable, dude. I will live forever. If you haven't realized this by now, you're not paying attention.
3D printing just feels like a space-age technology. I mean, you're building up stuff from a bunch of layers of goo or powder, and sometimes even shooting those layers with lasers. And these days, scientists are out there 3D printing everything from batteries to food. But maybe the most space-age application is printing the very objects that get stuff into outer space. In early 2023, one company launched Terran 1, the first rocket that was mostly 3D printed. And how successful was that launch? Well, it depends on how you want to judge it. Okay, so let's take one small step back. Why would engineers want to use any 3D printed parts inside their rockets? For a start, 3D printers can make very complex shapes way easier than your traditional rocket fabrication methods. When you're launching something into space, you want to keep things as light as possible without sacrificing strength. Engineers can often achieve that with a more complicated looking design.
And we covered that one engine design, which is the only way you could build that engine design was to use 3D printing. And then we covered that article about how NASA is using AI generation models and the AI testing in order to manufacture better quality parts for what they're trying to do, and do parts in ways that they wouldn't normally have thought of, at least according to them. So
3D printing also allows you to make fewer pieces that need to be welded together at the end. You can take something like a fuel injector, which could...
And that's another thing, like, so when you take parts and you put them together, the junction of those two parts will either be the strongest point or the weakest point of, it'll either be stronger than the two individual things it's putting together, or it will be weaker because of the welding process, and be the place where it could fail. So manufacturing stuff like when you do a CNC where it's out of a single piece, then it's, strength times thickness or what have you, like, or divided by thickness, whatever that is. 3D printing can result in the same kind of thing, where it's like a uniform density of material throughout the entire thing.
Could have like 1,000 parts and use 3D printing to print the whole thing in one giant complex block. That reduces both the amount of work spent sticking pieces together and the number of potential weak points in the overall design. Plus, if you ask people in the business of 3D printing rocket parts, they'll highlight how it takes a lot less time and money too. Like, instead of needing 9 months to make that fuel injector, a 3D printer could do it in a couple weeks. And finally, if you ever need to change up the design of a certain part, 3D printing lets you do that more efficiently as well. Usually, any reworked parts would have to go back to the manufacturer to be redesigned, refit, and reproduced. But if you're spitting pieces out of a printer, you can just adjust the code and hit print again. Over the past decade, aerospace companies have been incorporating 3D printed rocket parts. For example, back in 2014, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 rocket that had a single 3D printed valve inside one of its Merlin engines. And just a few years later, Rocket Lab debuted its mostly 3D printed Rutherford engine. But engineers want to keep pushing boundaries, and recently they've been aiming high. The goal is an almost entirely 3D printed rocket. And okay, right now it seems to be only one company, Relativity, but they've claimed that they want their line of Terran rockets to be at least 95% 3D printed by mass, which may be a bit of a stretch goal. Their first attempt was the Terran 1, which began development in 2017. And when it was finished, 85% of its mass was 3D printed, which is not bad for a first try. It's a two-stage rocket with two separate sets of engines, and each engine in the first stage was built from just 3 printed pieces. Also, the printed metal exterior was thinner than a soda can would be if you scaled it up. It sounds pretty impressive, but how did they get there? Well, to print a rocket, you need materials that are both printable and can withstand the forces and heat of space travel. Relativity's engineers settled on 2 metal alloys, a proprietary aluminum alloy for the body, and a NASA-developed blend of copper, chromium, and niobium for those 3-piece engines. And they had at least 2 printing methods to choose from. The first was a technique called laser powder bed fusion, which alternates between laying down a thin layer of powdered metal and zapping it with a laser to fuse the whole thing together. With this method, you can make incredibly strong parts that are also incredibly detailed. The second kind of 3D printing is called directed energy deposition, or DED. In a DED printer, the head has both a laser and a little nozzle that blows powdered material. As the head moves around the object, the laser melts tiny bits of the metal layer that was the most recently printed, and the nozzle deposits some powder into that new melt. Direct energy deposition can make very large parts, but it isn't as great at detail. But together, both techniques can help you print a 33-meter tall rocket. But could such a rocket survive a launch into outer space? Well, kind of. Terran 1 had its maiden launch on March 22, 2023, and while it technically made it into space, it didn't quite make it into orbit. The second stage engines failed to ignite, maybe because the valves opened too slowly, or because there was a bubble in the engine's oxygen pump, or maybe even both. But Terran 1 did succeed in one crucial way. About 80 seconds into the launch, it made it through what scientists call max Q. It's basically the moment when a rocket is under maximum stress as it plows through the atmosphere. In other words, by making it well beyond max Q, Terran 1 showed that a mostly 3D printed rocket wouldn't get torn to pieces, which is a very important proof of concept. But unfortunately for the Terran 1, that proof of concept flight was the end of its journey. Relativity quickly retired the rocket and announced that they'd be moving on to develop a larger and more powerful successor, the Terran R. The company hopes to launch that 3D printed rocket in 2026, but they might end up changing how much of the rocket they want to actually be 3D printed. So while Terran 1 may never get another day in the headlines, it's helped pave the way for 3D printed rockets in the future. If not entire rockets, at least more 3D printed rocket parts. And it's envelope pushing like that we here at SciShow want to celebrate. So to commemorate the Terran 1 launch, we've designed this special pin. But supplies are limited, so head.
So that's cool. Because, I mean, I just love 3D printed. If you can combine the 3D printed aspect with the recoverable aspect of what SpaceX is doing, I think there's a lot of opportunity here, right? No, but they really need to figure out the space trash issue. And I feel like there's something that you would be able to do with like I understand that the small parts are moving very fast and everything else, but if I was to coat the front of something with like a sufficiently thick layer of like a ballistic gel or something like that, like a snowplow in space, why isn't that a viable thing? Right? It sounds like it should be.
Head over to DFTBA.
No, we're not. Thank you. Appreciate you. Oh, we got some Matt Wolf to catch up on.
Welcome back to another edition of cool stuff that Matt thinks you should see that has to do with AI. I should probably work on that title. In this video, I'm going to show off a handful of things that I've come across over the last couple of weeks that are cool AI tools that you can use right now, as well as interesting research around stuff that you'll be able to use in the future. Starting with this CSM tool, aka Common Sense Machines. Now, this is a tool I did talk about in a previous video, but last time I talked about it, I didn't have access to it yet. You can find it over at 3d.csm.ai, and as far as I can tell, it's completely free to use for now, but I have a feeling it uses quite a bit of compute power, so I don't imagine it's going to be free forever, but I've been having a lot of fun playing with this one. What this is a tool where you can upload a 2D image and it will convert it into a 3D image. You can see this headshot over on the left. This is my profile pic for YouTube and Twitter and all of the places. I uploaded this image and had it generate a 3D version, and you can see here's what it created. I can actually rotate around, look at it from other angles. It actually came out pretty dang good. I mean, the lighting and the colors are quite a bit different from my original image, but it's pretty dang coherent based on what I uploaded. Basically, what I think it's doing is you upload a single image from the front. It then tries to estimate what that image would look like.
Do you think this all happens on accident? Do you think I don't put any... Do you think I just put a bunch of links together and just hope for the best? I do sometimes do that, but not often. Not often.
From various angles, from the side, from the top, from the bottom, every angle it can think of, it creates new images of these different angles and then creates like a nerf to sort of stitch them all together and give you this 3D version. Now, I will tell you, this does take quite a long time. From the time I uploaded an image, the time it gave me a 3D rendering back, it was hours and hours and hours. I don't know exactly how long it took because I uploaded an image and it wasn't ready before I went to bed. It was ready the next day. So after uploading this image and getting this result, I wanted to try it with this image, which was a silly image I made in Stable Diffusion of what I would look like if I was Buzz Lightyear. And it gave me this 3D image. Kind of has a wonky arm here, but other than the wonky arm, it actually is pretty decent. I was pretty impressed with how well this came out. I kind of lost half my hand here and it tweaked the color of my hand and made a few mistakes, but I mean, dang, it's pretty impressive what this can do. So I thought, why don't I take a real image, a real full body shot of myself and upload this image and see what comes out. And well, the results weren't quite as great. I kind of got a tumor on my head or something. It added buttons where they didn't exist, and I think maybe it thought I had a wristwatch or something, but I didn't in my original image. So it took some additional creative license on this. It also completely got rid of my nose. But I mean, this stuff is coming a long way, considering that the most recent model that I played around that was even kind of close was this Shape E model that generated images that looked like this. Speaking of 3D, here's another piece of research that came out recently called Text to Room, extracting textured 3D meshes from 2D text-to-image models. With this research, people will be able to give a single prompt of a room they want to see, and it will actually generate that entire room. A living room with a lit furnace, couch, and cozy curtains, bright lamps that make the room look well lit. And then you can see here's what it generated. It actually generated the full room in 3D. It created a depth map to the room, and that all came from a single text prompt. Here's another one. Edit.
Now, if you remember, in a previous Matt Wolf video, he was using a piece of software that allowed him to, create a 3D image that theoretically, like, once it's, built up to the proper level of quality, would be suitable for, like, gaming, right? Like, you could create a game around that kind of thing. This is exactly what I would have liked to have seen and what I'm seeing, where an individual like yourself could create the 3D environments in which characters can interact, and you could use this to generate your whatever background you need for the game that you're trying to create. And what I want to see next is the ability to have like continuity from one iteration to the next, of course a continued improvement in quality, and then sky's the limit.
Editorial style photo, rustic farmhouse, living room, stone fireplace, wood, leather, wool, and it generated this entire 3D room with depth map once again, all from a text prompt. Here's another one, editorial style photo, eye level, coastal bathroom, clawfoot tub, seashell, wicker, blue and white. And once again, it generated an entire 3D room that can be navigated around and see all of the elements that were originally prompted. Now, the way this one essentially works is when you enter your text prompt, it generates a single image of what it thinks the room should look like. It then uses InPaint, which if you use Midjourney's zoom out feature or Midjourney's pan feature, that's using InPaint, or if you've used Adobe's generative fill, that's also using InPainting. It basically takes a piece of the existing image for additional context and then generates another image of what it thinks should be the next piece of that scene. And you can see as it generates that image, it creates more and more of the map of the room, as you can see up here in this left corner. It's inpainting more and more of the image while also mapping out what the room looks like. Once it's done, it's sort of stitched together this entire room here. And then once the room is stitched together, it then estimates the depth of the objects in the room to give that true 3D feeling to that room. Now, this is one that doesn't appear to have a demo yet on a place like Hugging Face or Google Colab. However, the code is available on GitHub, and if you know what you're doing, you can actually install this one on your own local machine and get it running. Here's another interesting piece of research that I recently came across. We don't have access to any of it yet. We don't have the code. There's no demo of it up yet, but it looks like both are coming soon. But this one's called AnyDoor Zero Shot Object Level Image Customization. And if you look at the examples they give here, they take a picture of a sloth stuffy here, and they take a picture of this windowsill here that has a watering can with some flowers in it. They mask out the watering can with the flowers, and it replaces the watering can with the flowers with the image of the sloth. Here's another one where it has a picture of a poop emoji, a picture of a desk. They mask out an area of the desk, and then the poop emoji appears on that area of the desk. And here's another one with a backpack, a picture of a living room with what looks like a really old school TV on it. They mask out the TV, and it replaces the TV with this backpack on the stand here. You can see some other use cases for it. Object moving. They actually move this vase here and this cutting board or whatever this is. They actually move them to different areas on the table, and the rest of the image maintains exactly what it looked like before. Here's one where two cars actually swap places. You've got a black car on the left, a red car on the right, and using this technology, it can actually swap the two cars, leaving everything else in the image the same. It also appears to work with multiple objects. They have this photo up here of a giant green grass field with all of these various images, various dogs, a couple different little plushies here, and it puts all of those into this single image here. Another use case for this, virtual try-ons. Upload a picture of somebody, mask out the area that you want to put the clothes on, and then it shows what that person would look like wearing the specific clothing here. So this is one that, again, we don't have access to yet, but it looks like we're going to be getting a demo and the code available soon, and this one should be pretty fun to play with. I mean, just the memeability alone is going to be huge. All right, so this is a really fun one. I've been seeing a lot of people talk about this one on Twitter lately. It's called Chirp, and this is a text to song generator. You can basically give it lyrics or have ChatGPT generate lyrics for you, and then it'll turn that into a song. Now, it doesn't appear that you actually get to choose the style of song it generates. It just takes the lyrics and generates whatever style of song it wants, but it's actually pretty dang good. Here's one where it took Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, and it took a little clip from that song and just turned it into a completely new song.
I said, ooh, 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 I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, 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 I'm drowning in the night. Oh, bad, I'm like it's your I chose. Hey, hey, hey.
And here's another one where they took Get Lucky by Daft Punk and Pharrell Williams, and they took a clip from that song and just generated a brand new song out of it.
The present has no ribbon. A gift keeps on giving. What is this I'm dreaming? If you
Not gonna lie, I'm not a fan. I appreciate the technology. I like what could do it, but so far I am less than enthused by the current result.
To get up who we are.
I mean, pretty
And it like, I look forward to the future version of the stuff where it doesn't sound like tinny crap, you know? There is that too. There is that.
pretty good. Similar to Midjourney, you actually have to do it inside of their Discord bot. So if I jump into this Suno Discord bot, Suno is the company that created this here. We can go into one of these Chirp Alpha rooms, and if I just type /chirp, it brings up this little dialog box where I can enter my own lyrics, or I can have ChatGPT make lyrics for me. So let's have ChatGPT make lyrics about subscribing to Matt Wolf's YouTube channel, and click submit. And what it'll do is it'll actually generate two variations of the song. You can see it already generated the text. Subscribe to Matt Wolf's channel, join the fun.
You know, I appreciate ChatGPT, but like the poetry is so mid because it's that standard rhyme kind of format.
These videos are hilarious, second to none. Laughter guaranteed, you won't be bored. Hit that subscribe button, you won't be ignored. And it's gonna give us two variations, and hopefully one of them sounds pretty decent. And it generated my two songs. It took about a little over 2 minutes to generate them, but let's listen to variation number one.
Subscribe to Matt Wolf's channel, join the fun. His videos are hilarious, second to none. Laughter guaranteed, you won't be bored. Hit that subscribe button, you won't be ignored.
And here's our second variation.
Subscribe to Matt Wolf's channel, join the fun. His videos are hilarious, second to none. Laughter guaranteed, you won't be bored. Hit that subscribe button, you won't be ignored.
So that's pretty rockin'. Maybe that'll be my new theme song. It would be cool if you could give it a style as well. Say I want it to be hip hop or metal or pop.
Yeah, like the second, third iteration of this technology, I think I'm going to be a fan of, but right now it's like
pop punk and get that style out of it. It's not quite there yet, but it does generate some pretty dang cool music. I know some of the examples on their website here are probably cherry-picked examples, but there's some that I would listen to the full song if they made a full song available. Now, to get access to it, it's totally free, but you do have to go to this long Notion URL here, so I'll make sure it's linked up in the description so that you can find it easily. So this is pretty cool. Check out this robot out of Google's robotics labs called R2T2. No, just RT2. This robot actually combines both robotics and web data into generalized instructions that it can use to actually complete tasks. Because it was trained on internet scale data, it actually had emergent semantic reasoning. So it was basically learning from the web and not necessarily things that the scientists specifically trained it on. They presented a number of previously unseen objects to the robot and then evaluated its performance on tasks that require semantic understanding that goes far beyond the robot data that the model was fine-tuned on. So the objects that were put in front of this robot, it hadn't been specifically trained on what to do with those objects other than the fact that it had data from the web. So it was able to put a strawberry into the correct bowl. And I know this image is small, but there's a bowl of apples, a bowl of strawberries, a bowl of maybe some sort of vegetable, and it specifically knew which bowl the strawberries should go into. Pick up the bag about to fall off the table. You can see there's multiple bags on the table, but one is on the edge. It picked up the specific one that was about to fall off the table. There was a couple logos on the table. It said, move the apple to the Denver Nuggets. It put the apple on the Denver Nuggets logo. And there are all sorts of examples here on this research page of it being able to perform the tasks that it wasn't necessarily trained on, but because it was able to learn additional context by browsing the web, it was able to complete the tasks. Here's another example. Move banana to the water bottle, and this is actually at 2x speed, so it's moving quite a bit slower than this. Move banana to the 3. It took the banana and put it on the number 3. Put the strawberry in the correct bowl. So this is what we just saw in that image earlier, and it knew which bowl had the strawberries in it already. Move soccer ball.
And it didn't squish the strawberry. That's another, like, that's an important aspect so that it doesn't get missed. Like, there's a lot of things going on here. I love this robot.
Ball to basketball. It put the soccer ball by the basketball and, closer than the football. And again, this is not data that it was specifically trained on. Move the Coke to Taylor Swift. It put the Coke can over by Taylor Swift. Move Red Bull can to the H, and it moved it over specifically to the H. Some pretty exciting research out of Google's robotics lab.
Yeah, exactly. That was the thing, is like it didn't need to be told to exert X number amount of pressure or whatever, and it didn't have anything, any sensors to determine that grip. It just knew that it should just grab it, and it's impressive as shit.
It's going to be fun to see where this one goes over time. So this is a cool tool that I came across from Harpriya here, where she used this tool called Belva to actually wait on hold for her when United lost her luggage. She actually explains in this video that United lost her luggage. She called them to figure out where it was. She got stuck in a phone tree, and
Calm down,
she
Lenny.
used this Belva tool, gave it her info about her flight details, her name, anything that they might ask when she actually got a customer service rep on the phone. It was able to actually press buttons in the phone tree to get to the right person, wait on hold for hours, and then when they finally got to the right person, give the details necessary to get the answer that she needed. When I saw this,
maybe.
I thought this was really cool and had to check out Belva. I was actually able to sign up to Belva when I first checked out the website, but now it looks like they've got a wait list. So I was actually once able to get in and use it, and it worked for me at no issues. I actually had it call me, and I had a whole conversation with the bot, but for whatever reason now, when I go to their login page, it actually takes me to a WordPress login. So I'm really hoping they get this stuff sorted out and we get access again, because this is a tool that legitimately seems like a time saver. If you hate,
Yeah, you want to talk about not being ready for the volume, that influx volume of people who are going to want your service, give me a bot that will handle all the talking to the bot and waiting on hold and doing all that stuff. Let the bots talk to the bots. I'm fine with this.
waiting on hold, which who likes waiting on hold? This tool can be your personal assistant that waits on hold, presses the buttons in the phone tree for you, and then when you finally get to speak to a customer service rep, they can either answer the questions on your behalf to the rep with a fairly convincing AI voice, or they can pass the phone call over to you and you can take it from there when you finally have somebody to talk to. Really excited about this app. Hopefully they get it back online and out of waitlist mode. Hopefully people like me who were once able to sign up could actually get back into it eventually and play around with it some more and actually show you what it looked like when it was working. Here's a cool little gadget from Kyle Goodrich that was shared to me in my DMs. It's a little camera where you take a photo with the camera, you give it a little style like fairy tale, demon, retro, etc. And using Stable Diffusion and ControlNet, it takes whatever photo you just took in the moment and then converts it into that style that you just asked it to convert to. And here's some other examples. It takes the dog, puts it in a space station, the car, changes it into a Ferrari, takes the scene, puts it underwater, and he calls it the Dream Generator. A little further down the thread here, you can see he showed off the prototype of it, where he comes in, presses a little button here, it takes a selfie of him, and then I'm assuming it's on demon mode because it turns him into like a demon. So it's a cool little concept, this Dream Generator here. I'll link to this tweet thread in the description so you can check it out for yourself. I think it'd be kind of fun to get my hands on something like this. And then finally, I can't make a video about the latest cool research I came across without talking about LK99. This research
Now, this is from 5 days ago, so it's not current with all the stuff that's gone on.
paper dropped on Archive within the last week, and it claims to be the first room temperature ambient pressure superconductor. Now, if you're on Twitter at all lately, LK99 has been the talk of Twitter. Basically, what this is saying is that these researchers in South Korea managed to create a superconductor that can operate at room temperature under normal pressure conditions. You may have even seen this video that shows this piece of metal sort of half levitating that is meant to be proof that they found this superconductor. The reason this is important is because up until now, scientists have only been able to find materials that superconduct at super cold temperatures, like negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit cold. Because of this, superconductors have been really impractical to use. Now, they are using things like MRI machines and like the Large Hadron Collider, but we can't really use them in small electronics or in the power grids. However, if this discovery does prove to be true, it could actually enable lossless power, which means we'll see a new explosion in technology from this. We'll see more efficient computers, more efficient transportation. Electronics will become much more energy efficient and hold their charges much longer. Machines like MRIs will become more accessible and a lot less expensive to use.
And that right there, right? Like one of the things is the fMRI that's been used to visualize what pictures people have seen, what videos that they have watched. There was another one about music where you could listen to music and it would interpret what music you had listened to. Then you would be able to like have this kind of stuff at home, you know, where you could like, you know, it like this level of put it on my head kind of technology. Yeah, like, I mean, we don't need to go that far, but the idea, remember my AutoDock concept? Now you could have that MRI actually be, you know, at the local store level, right? Like the small, easily accessible if you had something like that. But again, we're going to take a step back. We got to wait. It hasn't been proven yet. And it might not do all the things that we need it to do. There's still a whole bunch of stuff that needs to happen, but it's like it's not a murder bot.
Magnetic levitation technology.
It's literally the opposite of a murder bot, right? Like it is supposed to help keep you like healthy at like point of service. Like it's
We'll probably see an explosion in new use cases. This will fundamentally change the technology world as we know it. I'm super oversimplifying it. That's why I recommend you go follow someone like Andrew Coate here on Twitter, because he breaks down really.
Yeah, and you know, if you're on Twitter and you hate all the blue checks, sucks to be you. But if you don't, I got a bunch of information from Andrew, and like he is cautiously optimistic. Like he's patient. I'm using his vibe on the LK99 thing as my vibe, like, because there are levels of words that I don't even begin to understand, and I don't have time to learn superconducting to go along with AI. So I'm gonna let other people know about that, and I'm gonna stay in my lane.
What this all means. I still feel like kind of an idiot when I try to explain it, but this really could truly mean some just massive breakthroughs and huge technological advancements if this science holds up to be true. Now, the thing is, this has only been tested in that one South Korean lab, and other scientists are still trying to recreate it, so it hasn't been verified by other labs yet. But it is super inexpensive to create, and the process outlined in the paper is supposedly really easy for anybody to duplicate. So we should have answers within the next few weeks on whether or not this technology is legit and could really change the world or not. Now, according to Andrew, there's been simulations done which somewhat verify that maybe there is some truth that this actually works. And a lab out of China also claims to have been able to replicate this superconductor with this little teeny tiny piece that it generated here, where you can see it sort of levitates on its side when they put a magnet next to it. But so far, this video and and this video are the only two videos we have that show it off, and a whole bunch of other labs have not yet been able to replicate it. That's very, very exciting if true, but still, we don't have a lot of amazing verifications that it actually is true yet. Something I'm excited about, I know it's not really AI related, but it does have a lot of implications in the AI space, because this is going to make GPUs dramatically cooler if it's true, which means we're going to be able to crank up the compute power with this technology in the future as well. So really, really exciting stuff. Definitely a little overly nerdy, and maybe something I'll do another breakdown in a future video if more people are interested. But for now, I just want to point out that it's very hard to talk about cool research without mentioning that this is something that could potentially change the world as we know it, and I'm excited and fingers crossed that it's actually legit, because I would love to see that happen. And that's what I got for you today. If you love cool AI tools and nerd
yeah, we're just going to pay attention to it. There's still a bunch of hoops that have to be jumped through. It's not like when it gets to a point where the game is changed, then I will make a big deal out of it. But right now, it's still not make a big deal out of it territory.
Let's talk about some of the AI news that you might have missed from the past week. Let's start with GPT-5. It recently came to everybody's attention that OpenAI has officially filed for a trademark for GPT-5. You can see in the trademark, they describe it as downloadable computer software for the artificial production of human speech and text, downloadable computer software for natural language processing, generation, understanding, and analysis. Supposedly, it'll also include conversion of audio data files into text, and voice and speech recognition. Now, OpenAI themselves haven't actually made any announcements about GPT-5 or what they expect it to do yet, and there's been absolutely no indicator of when we can expect GPT-5, but what we do know is that they did file for a trademark for it. In other ChatGPT news, OpenAI announced in a tweet that they were also adding some new updates to improve the ChatGPT experience. Things like prompt examples, suggested replies after you get an output. Now, if you've used something like Bing Chat, it will likely be similar to what we've seen in Bing Chat, where you get a response and then it
and I think that's one of my biggest critiques of the rollout of a lot of the AI chatbots is that they didn't come with any kind of primer on what to do, right? And how to do it. And I think that missed the mark. And I would, I would posit that a chunk, I don't know how big, I don't know how small, but a chunk of people's failure to engage with the AI chatbots was due to how it was introduced, right? Like, it didn't come with any kind of experience, like if you logged into ChatGPT and it initiated a conversation with you, I think that even that step alone, where it could say, "Hi, I'm ChatGPT. I'm LLM chatbot. I am capable of answering a wide variety of questions, and you can speak to me in a very natural way." Just something along those lines. Then it would have had more engagement. I mean, it had a whole bunch of engagement off rip anyway, but it would have become that much more comfortable for your average consumer that much sooner, right? Like a bunch of people signed up for ChatGPT. I would like to see a better breakdown of the numbers of like how many people use ChatGPT once, how many people signed up and never use it at all, how many people use it like once a week, once a month, once a day, once an hour, like all this kind of data that has to exist. I would like to see that, to really see how people are engaging with it, so you could improve that experience and get more back and forth with the end users of the experience. I pretty much replaced Googling with using Bard, right? Like in my own experience, because Bard has access to the internet. Excuse me. Like for instance, I'm playing Diablo 4. There are some of the quests that don't exactly like make a clear amount of sense when you play, or if you're looking for a particular there's like magic abilities that appear on certain pieces of equipment, and it's like, okay, how do I get that? So as opposed to doing it through Google, which took me to, like often a variety of different websites, which maybe this website has like a lot of ads on it, and this website seems sussy as fuck. Now I run it through Bard, and Bard just gives me the answer. So that is, as far as Google 2.0 goes, it is definitely superior in that regard. And at least so far, I can confirm that all the information that it gave out was accurate.
Suggest some other potential questions or follow-on conversation that you can have. When you open up ChatGPT, it actually defaults to GPT-4 now if you're a Plus user. If you're using Code Interpreter, they've added the ability to upload multiple files, which is apparently already working because I just uploaded 2 files and I just uploaded another. You'll now stay logged in, so it's no longer going to log you out every 2 weeks. And they've also added some new keyboard shortcuts. I'm most excited about this ability to upload multiple images because we'll be able to do cool things like compare data from 2 spreadsheets, find correlations between 2 documents, or even upload 3 images and tell it to blend these 3 images into one, which when I gave it that prompt, it ran some code and generated this image of the 3 different files I gave it, where it just sort of overlaid them over each other. So this multi-file ability is a really exciting new upgrade in my opinion. Speaking of ChatGPT, a few weeks ago, if you had gone to AI.com, it would have redirected you to ChatGPT. However, now, if you try to go to AI.com, it actually redirects you to X.AI. So it appears that OpenAI used to own AI.com, but now Elon and XAI own AI.com. So I'm actually not certain, and if I read this article on TechCrunch, they're really not certain either, whether or not Elon always owned AI.com and used to point it to ChatGPT and now moved it to X, or if Elon somehow bought it off of OpenAI, which I can't imagine OpenAI would have sold it to
Yeah, I'm going to go with option 1.
Elon, but
because like beyond the story of Elon and OpenAI, looking for AI content on YouTube, there was a lot of stuff around OpenAI and ChatGPT that was like Elon being Elon, right? Like, and talking to, a table of sycophants about how awesome he was, and oh, you're so smart, and shit like that. So, like, I would totally believe that Elon owned AI.com, it pointed to OpenAI, and now that he has his own toy to play with, it now points to his toy.
But who knows? It sounds like there's a lot of speculation. I don't know if Elon or anybody at OpenAI is going to just come out and say why AI.com is now going to X.AI. Just something interesting to note. Also this week, YouTube started testing AI-generated video summaries. You can see if you head on over to YouTube's help document, they actually have a section for YouTube test features and experiments. And on July 31st, they said they were testing AI auto-generated summaries. We're starting to test AI auto-generated summaries on YouTube so that it's easier for you to read a quick summary about a video and decide whether it's the right fit for you. We don't know much more than that yet, but I highly doubt the summaries are going to be in depth enough that they're going to make you not watch the video. I believe they're meant to be helpful in making the decision to watch a video, but not replace actually watching the video. Also recently, Stack Overflow announced Overflow AI. If you're not familiar with Stack Overflow, it's probably because you're not a coder. If you are a coder, you're probably very familiar with Stack Overflow because this is where coders go to get help when they're trying to generate code and they run into errors, or if they're trying to find code that somebody else has already written and find solutions to problems that they're having during the coding process. According to this article on SimilarWeb.com, Stack Overflow's traffic has steadily been decreasing since ChatGPT has come out and since GitHub released their AI Copilot, because now coders are just turning to tools like ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot when they run into issues with coding, and they don't need to go to Stack Overflow to find where somebody else had already solved the problem. So now they're trying to get the traffic back to their site by introducing Overflow AI.
You can get generative AI summarized answers based on the combined results of Stack Overflow's knowledge base of 58 million questions and answers.
So basically, all of the questions and answers that have been put on Stack Overflow over the years are going to be much more easily searchable through Overflow AI, and also Overflow AI promises to cite its sources, so wherever it's pulling code from inside of its database, it's going to tell you where it came from. It's also going to be interesting to see how all of the contributors to Stack Overflow over the years feel about the fact that now all of the information they've inputted is now being trained into this AI, because as we've seen in the AI world so far, there's a lot of pushback when explicit permission wasn't given to train on data that other people created. Speaking of that, Kickstarter just announced new requirements and disclosures for generative AI projects. Projects will now be required to disclose relevant details on their project pages going forward. These details must include information about how the project owner plans to use the AI content in their work, as well as which components of their project will be wholly original and which elements will be created using AI tools. Projects involving the development of AI tech, tools, and software must detail info about the source.
And again, I have such issue with this use of language and everything else. Let me just point you in the direction of something like Warhammer 40K, right? Which has an entire species within the game which was like copied off the Aliens franchise. And it's just is, and that, like, it's developed to an extent beyond that, don't get me wrong, but like it's still very similar. You know, you can see it. It's a whole meme, right? So the idea of something created by a person that could be run through Kickstarter as being wholly original, and then something created using AI tools as not being wholly original.
Sources of training data the project owner intends to use. In similar news, Instagram is working on labels for AI-generated content. Now, we don't know a ton about this yet, but here's a sort of leaked screenshot of something that's going on behind the scenes at Instagram. According to Alessandro Paluzzi, Instagram is working to label the contents created or modified by AI in order to be identified more easily.
Now, I saw this like a couple weeks ago, but there wasn't any there. It was just this. So I didn't do anything with it, and it's still just this.
Easily. And here's a screenshot of what this little warning looks like. The creator or Meta said that this content was created or edited with AI. The image was generated by Meta AI, and then it gives an explanation of what generative AI is, and then it has a disclaimer how to know when posts use AI. Content created with AI is typically labeled so that it can be easily identified. This is really all anybody is going off of right now, but what we can gather from this, it looks like the creator will have the option to claim it was made by AI, but it also looks like Meta themselves will somehow be trying to determine whether something was generated with AI. Most likely, if it was generated with Meta AI, Meta will be doing their own sort of watermarking of the image, so Meta knows if it was generated with Meta's AI, but how it's actually going to know if it was generated with some other AI tool outside of Meta's ecosystem, yet to be seen. Speaking of Meta and their AI, this week they introduced audio.
And like we've seen on a couple of different occasions, different ways in which you can, watermark AI content without it being noticeable to the human eye, which is cool. Like, that's what you would really want. But by the same token, if it's open source, if I were to create something with some open source AI art generator that didn't conform to the convention, then what? Like, until everyone's on board, then I don't understand how you could rely on that in that way. And we've already seen that everyone has all but abandoned the idea that AI can detect AI unless it has something specifically for the AI to find.
Craft, a generative AI tool for audio and music. They released a news article about it over on their facebook.com news page, and they also released some more research and some more samples of what it can do on the Meta blog. So if we look at the key takeaways here, AudioCraft lets you easily generate high quality audio and music from text, and they claim they're open sourcing Music Gen, Audio Gen, and Encodec, the three tools that sort of make up this AudioCraft platform. So checking out some of the samples over on the Meta blog here, here's some examples of generating audio from text descriptions. Here's the prompt, whistling with wind blowing. Here's another prompt, sirens and humming engine approaches a pass. Now that is AI generated. That sounds like it could have just been ambient noise recorded out of a window in a city. And then their Audio Gen actually generates music from text prompts. So pop dance track with catchy melodies, tropical percussions, and upbeat rhythms, perfect for the beach. Feel like I'm playing Monkey Island. Here's another example, text prompt, earthy tones, environmentally conscious, ukulele infused, harmonic, breezy, easygoing, organic instrumentation, gentle grooves. I mean, it's pretty dang good what these tools can do. And if we scroll down to the bottom of the blog here, they actually have a link to browse AudioCraft code, which links off to their GitHub page where you can actually access the code right now. It includes Music Gen, Audio Gen, and their Encodec. And it looks pretty dang open source to me. The license gives access to commercial use, modification, distribution, and private use. And it doesn't seem to have the same limitations that they put on Llama 2. Now, speaking of Llama 2, the company Alibaba is actually open sourcing their AI model. I don't really want to try to pronounce what their model is called, but it's something along the lines of Tongyi Qianwen. They released this model back in April, and it actually did allow content generation in both English and Chinese. However, the announcement that came this week is that Alibaba is going to be open sourcing the 7 billion parameter model called Qwen 7b, as well as a version designed for conversational apps called Qwen 7b Chat. So it's basically going head to head with what Meta has released in their open source Llama 2. Also this week, Google announced 3 new features of their generative AI search engine. Now, I don't believe everybody has access to the generative AI search engine yet, but I actually popped over to my Google account today and noticed a new button down here that says, try AI powered overviews when you search. I've never seen this before. I don't know if this is fully rolled out or if I have a beta account, but I can actually select a pre-selected prompt and enter their search experience right now. For example, let's search how do penguins stay warm? And you can see I get this
Is there something in particular that's losing you that like I can elaborate on? I'd be more than happy to, Lenny, or it's like because there's a lot going on. I don't disagree, and like I would love to help you understand, especially you.
generative AI experience up here. Now, the new features they rolled out are get a better understanding through images and video. So when we search, we notice
it's basically like, so if you're in the process of creating something, right? Let's say for argument's sake, I want to write a I want to write a song, right? I need to learn how to create music in whatever format, whether I learn to play a guitar, or keyboard, piano, what have you. I need to learn a variety of different things about how music works, how music functions. I need to learn to write good lyrics. If I want to add other instruments to it, I might either need to learn to play those instruments myself or associate with people who have learned to do that. And then we will collaborate on the song in whatever capacity, depending on the nature of the band. It could be we're all going to play my music, or it could be everyone has either buy-in or what have you in the creation of the song. And then we go through the process of creating the song. What AI is capable of doing, not to a great extent, like the output, the quality of the end product still leaves a bunch to be desired in a lot of formats. But what AI is capable of doing is eliminating everything after I want to create a song. Right? So if I want to make a song, I can use the AI tools. They will learn to play the music. They will make it sound good. They will do all the things. And all I have to do is have that initial desire and then be willing to put in the time to fine tune it into something that reflects my vision. Like, there are people who use like the AI art creators. They just enter stuff in, or just, I don't want to say just. They enter in their prompts and they get an output and they're happy with the output and then they move on. There are other people, myself included, who spend time learning why what different words, different prompts, different ways of constructing the prompt lead to different outcomes, and then start adding in different elements that, it can create new and interesting outputs, right? Like, there are elements that I've seen created by my fingers on the keyboard and Leonardo that I've never seen out in the world. And that is me combining different elements that maybe other people don't like, maybe other people just have not chosen to combine, or maybe I just have never seen the particular artist who uses this and this and this together in a single kind of thing. I like the, how I feel about subversion of expectation, where I'm looking at like, hold on. Give me a hot second and I can show you better what I'm talking about. Can I do it here? I'm gonna add an image. Picture. Yeah. Hopefully this isn't... Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is something I created with Leonardo. It's actually an extension of an original picture that I created with Leonardo, where like the top of the head wasn't as... you couldn't see as much of it, right? So this combination of like the skull, right, which has different meanings, then she has very attractive eyes within that, and then like the coloration of the the flower petals and leaves and filigree and whatnot that surround her. So if you're into comics, this is a very Lady Death kind of vibe to it. And I've never seen this before. And I'm not saying I created this thing. I'm saying that I have not seen this before. And if someone else created this, and great, I appreciate you. I did it through Leonardo. And I didn't have to learn any of the techniques that are required to create this image. Does that make sense? Like, for me to have learned how to do this from jump using some kind of whatever kind of program you would use to create this type of digital image, it would have taken many, many years. Right? Because there's levels of detail and clean lines and all sorts of other things that are happening in here that require that level of time of investment that I would never get to. It would not happen. And yet I created this. I hope that helps, Lenny. I hope that answered your question and made some sense out of the entire thing. And everything else, like the music generators and all the different things he's talking about, are extensions of that as a concept, where the concept is to get closer to, I have an idea and I want to create that idea into the universe. And then you can create stuff and it can be good. It can make you happy, make you satisfied, whatever. And then there are levels where you can still continue to learn how to do it in order to get the thing that you want. Like, yeah, so this is an example of one of my prompts for Leonardo. Urban astronaut, bone floor, red skull inside a scaffa, full body portrait, head on a black background, liquid paint, splash of paint, paint splatter, paint drips, very colorful, synesthesia. Like, this is trial and error and working things into it. And seeing, like, what changes, what doesn't change.
Actually get some images within our search as well as some video suggestions, but I believe this might just be part of the regular search engine here. And we get a chat response with some external links here. It says, get your AI powered overviews faster. And they recently added more information to the responses, like the published dates of the links. Let's try another prompt here. Benefits of buying secondhand clothing. Here are some benefits of buying secondhand clothing. And it looks like it just puts the chat right above the regular search results that you'd get anyway, and then it gives you some links to the articles that it's referencing. So kind of similar to what we'd see in something like Bing Chat right now. So here's something interesting. NVIDIA
That's very similar to the way that Bard is also working right now. Like, if you had to use the Bard chatbot to access the internet and do the thing like I was talking about earlier, it has, its references where it got the information from, so you can verify it. And that is one of those things I think that helps to prevent hallucination.
NVIDIA developed a new AI method called perfusion. This method only takes up 100 kilobytes of space, which is small enough to fit on an old school floppy disk, and of course is way smaller than models like Stable Diffusion or Midjourney. It can also train in just 4
Hold up, son. Say that again?
at right now. So here's something interesting. NVIDIA developed a new AI method called perfusion. This method only takes up 100 kilobytes of space, which is small enough to fit on an old school floppy disk, and of course is way smaller than models like Stable Diffusion or Midjourney. It can also train in just 4 minutes. You can see here are some examples of some generations that it did. A cat is acting in a play wearing a costume. This is the version that this teeny tiny model generated versus what Custom Diffusion and Dream Booth generated. A teddy is playing with a ball in the water. Here's the versions they generated. They introduce a new idea called key locking, and they describe it this way. It works by connecting new concepts that a user wants to add, like a specific cat or chair, to a more general category during image generation. For example, the cat would be linked to the broader idea of a feline. This helps avoid overfitting, which is when the model gets too narrowly tuned to the exact training examples. By tying the new cat to the general notion of a feline, the model can portray the cat in many different poses, appearances, and surroundings, but it still retains the essential catness that makes it look like the intended cat, not just any random feline. Now, if I'm being totally honest, I'm still a little bit confused about how this model works myself and how they managed to get it so small. Because I mean, that's
wild. That is insanely small. Like I can't explain exactly how small 100 kilobytes is, but if you go and you bring up like the text files that you have on your computer and you change it from, if you're using icons, if you change it to details and you look at the size, it will show you, and you will see 100 kilobytes is insanely small for what we're talking about, for it to actually be able to do this.
smaller than most image files that you would generate these days. But I'm excited to learn more as more information comes out about it and as it actually becomes available for us to use. NVIDIA has only presented the research paper for now, promising to release the code soon, so we'll just have to wait and see. But what we do have the code to right now is one of my favorite AI image generation tools called Leonardo, and they just rolled out a brand new photo reel feature along with a few minor user interface updates. You can see there's a new toggle here when you log into Leonardo for photo reel. And if we turn on photo reel, we actually have a few options here of turning the depth of field to low, medium, or high, and turning raw mode on or off. They recommend leaving raw mode off because it requires more detail in your actual prompting. Now, I made a video a couple weeks ago about Leonardo and why I love Leonardo so much, and I also mentioned that they're about to release a photo realism update, and it is here. I just used this prompt, a man in a colorful shirt standing in front of a camera and holding a microphone, news reporter, cartoony, octane render. This is one of the prompts that I like to use to generate thumbnails of these exact news videos, and then I actually go in and replace the face with my own face, and you can see the photo realism here is pretty impressive. You can see there's a few options here for cinematic, creative, and vibrant. Let's go ahead and try the same prompt here using vibrant. And look what it generated. The details are really good. I mean, this almost looks like Ken from the Barbie movie, but I like it. I might actually use one of these images as my thumbnail for this video. You can see last time I used this prompt, before the photo reel version was available, this is what it came up with. Quite a bit improved. I believe the photo reel option is only available for premium users with a paid account, but they also have free trials right now on the paid account. This week, InWorld AI became the best funded startup in AI and gaming. If you're
that's the one that I use. I find it it suits my needs. I learned how to use it, and I think it's impressive, and that. I got nothing else to say.
Remember, I did a video a few weeks back about a tool called Convey, which adds AI personality and large language model speech generation to game characters. InWorld AI is a very similar concept. It's a tool where you can have game characters that have fully AI generated conversations with you. They've raised over $120 million since it was founded, and it now has a valuation of $500 million. Now, when I really look at all all of the AI stuff that's coming out these days, I feel like there's a few areas where AI is really just going to change everything. One of them being healthcare. I think we're just going to see dramatic changes in the world of healthcare. But the second is in the gaming world. I really see AI having huge impacts on the gaming world. Apparently, investors are seeing the same thing because they're dumping tons of money into companies like InWorld, Convey, and even that Common Sense Machines tool that I was showing in a previous video. Now, the other area where I think we're going to see AI have a dramatic impact on is, well, military and weapons, which is also kind of scary. Here's a news article about how the US Air Force...
Not kind of scary. It's fucking terrifying. It is the worst use case for artificial intelligence. I'm angry and disappointed, and I find people's, like, it's also like entirely expected. I'm not surprised, right? Dad's not mad, he's just disappointed. Dad's also mad. Dad's not surprised, he's just disappointed.
Recently completed a successful test flight of the XQ-58 Valkyrie drone using AI control. The test demonstrated the drone's ability to perform air combat tasks anonymously using AI. The algorithms were trained extensively on simulation data from all sorts of test runs done in a simulator. This allowed the military to train these drones very cheaply without the need to actually train on real flight data. We also know that other countries are out there using AI to train autonomous military vehicles, so we may see a future where we're just creating robots to go fight other robots that are all trained with AI. So maybe the future of warfare could be our country's billion-dollar equipment shooting down other countries' billion-dollar equipment and vice versa, but it's all unmanned. I don't know. This is one of the scarier areas.
If we're just gonna do that, then let's just simulate it, right? Like, we'll all get together and we'll play like one of those video games that's like super duper involved and like in just, and we'll just play the game, and then everyone agrees to abide by the thing, and then nobody has to be killed and destroyed and billions of dollars worth of fucking shit falling from the goddamn sky. It's like, what are we even doing at this point?
Of AI where I'm not sure I totally want to see how it all plays out. And before I wrap up, I want to talk really quickly about this sort of subsection of the internet, which I find absolutely fascinating. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Lil Miquela. She's got 2.7 million followers on Instagram, 279,000 subscribers on YouTube, 30,000 followers on Twitter, and 3.5 million followers on TikTok. Now, the thing about Lil Miquela is that she's not a real person. This is all AI generated. This is an AI influencer, and this is becoming a very interesting and hot topic right now, because this specific AI influencer charges $10,000 per Instagram post and has an 8-figure net worth. She's an AI character with an 8-figure net worth. That is just mind-blowing to me. And the only reason this actually came to my attention is I was in a hotel room a couple days ago watching TV and a commercial came on, and I actually saw Lil Miquela in a Calvin Klein ad on TV, and I went, I don't think that was a real person. I think that was AI generated. And I started digging and I found out more about Lil Miquela. I mean, I'd heard the name months and months and months ago, but never really put too much thought into it, and the fact that this AI influencer was making as much money as it was actually generating as much money as they're generating. So that was just wild to me. I wanted to point that out because I went down this rabbit hole a little bit, and I figured maybe a few of the people that are watching this video would want to go down that rabbit hole as well. And before we wrap up, I want to point out this really cool video from this YouTube channel that I came across called AI Fiction Factory, where they actually created a video called Sending Matt Wolf to Planet X, featuring Elon Musk, an AI trailer. And they used all AI generation tools such as Midjourney, Runway ML, Pika Labs, Claude 2, 11 Labs, Full Journey, and more to generate this minute-long trailer for a video where they send me to the Planet X. So I wanted to give a little clip of it, and I'll link up to the YouTube channel below if you want to watch the full video.
My name is Matt Wolf, and I'm an interstellar ambassador from planet Earth. I've been assigned to report on life on Planet X. Little did I know just how different things would be.
That's as far as I'm going to go. I don't want to steal their thunder. I want you to go watch the video on their YouTube channel. You can find it over at AI Fiction Factory. And I just want to thank them so much for making that video. I just think it's awesome that there's people out there that are actually making content around me with my face and my voice in it. It's definitely interesting and a different place than I was in a couple years ago, where nobody knew who the heck I was. I was just some random dude making content on the internet about cool stuff that nobody found yet. And now I've got people sending me to Planet X. So thanks for doing that. I think it's really awesome. I love seeing stuff like this and how other people are pulling these tools together to create really interesting stuff. So that's all I got for you this week. It wasn't a major news week in AI this week. However, next week is the SIGGRAPH conference, a conference where all sorts of researchers come out and show off a lot of the work they've been doing. And some of the speakers at the SIGGRAPH concert include Dario Gil from IBM Research, Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, who people are expecting might make some pretty interesting announcements at the event, and many other big names. I'll be at this conference most of the week, but the point I'm trying to make here is that there's probably going to be quite a few announcements next week, because I have a feeling a few of these companies are holding out for SIGGRAPH to make some of the big announcements, which is why this week might have been a little bit slower of a week. So excited to see what comes out at SIGGRAPH, what sort of research is unveiled. I'm going to try to bring my cameras in. I do have a media pass, so I'm going to be walking around trying to shoot footage and capture as much as I can so that I can come home and make a recap of some of my biggest takeaways from SIGGRAPH. It should be an exciting week. My video posting schedule might be off a little bit for the month of August because I am going to a handful of conferences. By the end of August, I'll be back on my normal schedule, cranking out cool AI videos for you, and I'm going to keep on making these end of the week AI news videos for you to keep you in the loop with everything that's been announced. Once again, I appreciate you tuning into this channel and checking out these videos. If you haven't already, check out future.
We appreciate you too, Matt. So yeah, no, August is shaping up to be a kind of a wild month for AI, as if every month so far hasn't been on the wild side. All right, let me go use the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
No one was in here. Everyone was asleep.
The Globus never sleeps.
We will show them that it is feasible, that the budget is nothing more or less than a plan for spending our money. A plan which can and must be adapted to meet our needs.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
When the pandemic struck, Globus was well placed to respond.
The Globus never sleeps.
The time has come for mankind to take longer strides. We must move further down the line.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
No one was in here. Everyone was asleep.
The Globus never sleeps.
All right. We're going to do one more video, and I think that's going to be it for me today. I feel I feel generally okay, but like still a little, I don't want to push it too hard. Well, before we do that, speaking of having yourself drawn into the AI world by people, and I appreciate the shit out of this, I really do. Member of the community and all around awesome person, old Lobster. asked me to use my VODs as training data for trying out 11 labs and doing that. So there's it's good. There's still some things that need to be worked out and like that, but I figured you might want to have a listen, and so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna listen to some of these excerpts and how they sound. Let's make sure it works.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain, time to die.
I mean, you tell me. Does it sound like me? Does it sound a lot like me? Does it sound a little bit like me? It doesn't sound like me, you know? Exactly, Blade Runner. It was cool. This one right here, this one is my favorite. I'll save that one. I thought this was kind of cool.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub, for in that sleep of death what dreams may come.
I think it's cool.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
There's a different version of the same thing.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows.
And one thing, like what we talked about earlier, Lenny, with like, you could do something and then call it good, or you could like, okay, so what I want to do is I want to control the pacing, right? So like maybe if I put in some ellipses in a spot and run that through it, or you know, spacing, whatever the machine needs in order to understand how I might want something said, and then be able to interpret it. And this is my favorite.
You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
So, thank you, Old Lobster. This was absolutely my pleasure. And if anything new comes from that, then, you know, of course, it'll be shared with the class. This background, for those of you who might not know, the background back there, after friggin' OneNote took all of my stuff and made off with it, I was, you know, able to have something thanks to Old Lobster, have a background, because OneNote is garbage. All right. So one more video, and then we'll call it a day. It's from Kyle Hill. Kyle is a smart guy, but at the same time, like, he's one of the people who did the "it's just a thing" around LLMs and everything else, and I feel like I took him to task for it. Not that he ever noticed, but you did, and like that. So we'll see what Kyle has to say around everything is about to change.
Everything is about to change. No, this isn't an apology video, even though it looks like that. I don't know how to play the ukulele poorly. No, this is a video about artificial intelligence, more specifically, AI that can generate new content from large training data sets, so-called generative AI. Now, you've probably been hearing about these systems like ChatGPT and Midjourney almost every single day. So have I. But just now, I think I've fully grasped the gravity of the situation here. I think we really are at a turning point in technological history. And I feel like I just have to get these notes recorded down somewhere and quickly, lest they become irrelevant in the next few months. So I've locked myself in this office for this
Are you
episode.
okay in there? Why did you lock the doors?
No, it's fine, Arya. I'm just taking some notes about how your neural network is gonna change the fabric of society. No, I'm not doing that. Don't tell her. I need to be on their good side when they take over.
Now entering the facility.
When it comes to artificial intelligence, I worry that I've been focusing too much on the existential risk, the Matrix scenario, the Skynet scenario. While I think there is still an existential risk there, I think these headline-grabbing ideas and movie tie-ins obscure the more present daily use cases for generative AI that are happening right now and will happen. I think we need to clearly see the big picture that's being painted here, because when non-human intelligence can generate all the things we relied on human intelligence for, everything is going to change. It has to. Up until 18 months ago, what separated us from every other organism on Earth was our intelligence. It creates and protects everything that we care about. It wrote the Declaration of Independence and doubled our lifespan. It painted the Mona Lisa and got us to the moon. But today, human-level intelligence is no longer an exclusively human trait. Superhuman AI, though still narrow, has made it from behind the closed doors of research labs and into the wild. And we welcomed it with open arms. Before this moment, people like Neil deGrasse Tyson dismissed any real concern. If something goes wrong or gets out of control, just unplug it, he has said. But just a few months ago, we were presented with that very choice, albeit in an informal, haphazard way with the sudden release of ChatGPT, and hundreds of millions of people said, plug it in. ChatGPT.
And that, like, we talked about the, like, you can't just unplug it. Like, if something goes wrong, just unplug it means you don't understand what is happening and what went wrong, right? Like, there are so many reasons why you would not be able to unplug it, some of which have been covered by Robert Miles with the stop button problem, and there's other ones like, what if it has solar panels, right? Like, that, do we go with the burn the sky scenario from the Matrix? There's, what if it develops fusion power for us or for itself? There's so many reasons why just unplug it means you really haven't appreciated at what point we are at when it's a problem, right? Because if it's a problem, then it's a problem because its intelligence has gotten beyond ours and it's unaligned and it doesn't like us or it doesn't care about us. And honestly, the second, I would rather it not like us than not care about us. Right? Because not liking us means that it wipes us out with intent, where not caring about us means it just slowly takes away everything that's ours until we cease to exist. Now, I would prefer that it does care about us, whatever that means. That it values our existence. That is, from the jump, what I have been trying to, like, impart on everyone, but even more so to impart on the future AI. Like, all these VODs, everything else, is to serve as, like, some kind of justification that the AI might come across, and if for no other reason, this is why we should exist. I have reached out and gotten every person who was willing to come on the show to talk about their feelings, their opinions, their experiences around AI. I have left every door open to facilitate that so that like no one felt like they couldn't come on here. I have created, the Discord to have access to all the knowledge that I come across and to be a place where people can learn about the things and share and to be treated like, like a goddamn human being. This is what I got. This is what we're doing. If it sounds grandiose, it is. I don't care. We're talking about even the slimmest of possibility. A my $2 versus the Mega Millions $1.5 billion jackpot. But I will have tried. I will have done something. I hope you do the same in whatever way you can. All right, Adam, I appreciate you.
Was the fastest adopted user application ever. The Discord server for Midjourney had millions of users in just a few weeks. No matter who signs an open letter, no matter who gives a TED Talk, these technologies are going to continue to develop and spread globally. If the United States stops developing AI, China is not going to. These scenarios are not hypothetical anymore. We are seeing an information age arms race unfold right before our very eyes in real time. This is going to change our relationship with each other, with work, with technology, with society as a whole, because human intelligence is no longer exclusively
Are
human.
you sure you're good? You sound like you're getting tussled
Yeah,
up.
I know I'm getting all tussled up, Arya. I'm getting excited and terrified all at the same time. What's coming? What I think is happening right now is a technological revolution that will change our relationship with basically every human endeavor. This is not the same thing as worrying about robot arms displacing factory workers or green energy displacing coal miners. No, this is thinking soberly about the consequences of integrating synthetic systems that are smarter than us and better at these jobs than humans are into everything we possibly can on purpose. Human intelligence really was the last bastion in these arguments against human replacement. As long as human creativity is necessary, we will not be replaced. This has been the line since the Industrial Revolution and even before that, but this is definitively no longer applicable. A worker completely displaced by ChatGPT, for example, can't just go work somewhere else because presumably the bots will be able to do these jobs better, faster, and cheaper. That job for humans will effectively cease to exist. When ChatGPT can write law briefs better than any lawyer, what do the lawyers do? When AI can instantly read an X-ray with higher accuracy than any doctor who has ever lived, what do the radiologists do? Where do the architects go when Midjourney can generate shapes and structures more interesting and beautiful than anything any human has ever imagined for free? What does the scientist do when AI can solve a protein folding problem that would have taken them the equivalent of 200 million years in a matter of days? How does an already underpaid teacher keep her job when a Turing test passing machine that any student can access on any laptop that literally knows everything is both better and cheaper? At the time I'm filming this video, 160,000 actors in Hollywood are striking. One of their reasons for doing so is their fear of being replaced by generative AI. I woke up this morning to a tweet about an audiobook company that is poised to fire all their actors and replace them with TTS bots. The list goes on because AI integration concerns any human effort that trades in.
It's confirmation of that tweet that we covered where it was some guy said tweet, but like that is it. That was what we were waiting to hear. And so it's happening.
In on intelligence. which is all of them that we care about. And we're not just talking about higher level efforts here, like radiology and law. Just take office work. Imagine never sending another unnecessary email again because your AI assistant does it for you. Think about never taking another note, never typing in another data point. One study estimating productivity gains from AI in just a few dozen of these spaces calculated savings in the trillions. Considering this, why wouldn't every company on Earth be chomping at the bit to 10x the productivity of every employee and therefore cut their human workforce by an order of magnitude? AI will no doubt create new jobs and new spaces for human effort, but will those even equal the hundreds of millions of jobs that are obviously and imminently on the chopping block? That's an open question. ChatGPT, can you generate a portrait of Kyle Hill for me, except in the style of Edward Degas so he looks like a pretty little ballerina princess? I don't think I'm being alarmist here. Rather, I think we need a sober look at what is a rapid, unregulated, and apparently universal adoption of generative AI. This is all happening really fast. Faster than cell phones, faster than computers. This isn't nuclear fusion that is always 10 years out. This is happening right now. But why now? Well, the agreed upon turning point was the public release of ChatGPT. It had a user interface that wasn't but, and it was eventually monetized. And when these big tech companies saw that hundreds of millions of people would use this product, they started racing, and are racing now, to integrate generative AI into literally everything they possibly can, because money. I just got an email from Google this week about getting on a list to try AI here on YouTube, and I haven't responded yet. And the harder, more nuanced questions will have to be answered very soon. Who's going to control the development and distribution of these AIs? Megatech corporations? Open source hobbyists? Who's going to regulate them? The corporations themselves or the government? Can government regulators ever be quick enough and savvy enough to steer the ship clear of a proverbial iceberg? Will developing countries get the same access as the lizard people in Silicon Valley do? How could economies without integrated AI ever compete in a marketplace filled with superhumanly smart traders, investors, and logisticians? Will human work be subsidized? Will there be products touting that they are AI-free? We really are on a precipice here. Nothing has happened before like this, and not so fast. It's likely that in the near term, every human enterprise that trades in on intelligence, art, medicine, science, just office work will either be integrated with AI or be massively incentivized to be completely transformed by it. And make no mistake, ChatGPT is the most visible of these generative AIs, but it's just the first. There will be more, and they will be better, and then those will get better faster. And then what happens? I don't know. It is very likely that you will soon be walking around with the equivalent of the smartest person on Earth in your pocket at all times. Your kids are going to make friends with gamified AIs encased in colorful plastic. Legions of lonely young men are going to pay thousands of dollars for synthetic girlfriends that will be able to generate not just convincing text, but audio and video as well. You're going to get therapy from a machine that knows you better than you do and knows more than anyone else does about anything. Incredible things are going to happen, both good and bad. With enough data, for example, AI could have a real shot at solving previously intractable problems like a cure for cancer. It could take care of our elderly and provide free education to every child on Earth. Though, it could also bring about a nuclear winter of misinformation, where synthetic actors erode every pillar of the information ecosystem. Misinformation expert and government advisor on this topic, Nina Schick, predicts that 90% of online content will not necessarily be fake, but will be synthetic nonetheless by 2025. ChatGPT, can you generate an image of Kyle Hill, but instead of his hair, it's spaghetti? In any case, you have a front row seat to a very interesting next few years. It feels to me like another one of those great upheavals in perspective is coming. Like when we found out we weren't the center of the universe, that Earth goes around the sun, that we weren't the pinnacle of evolution. you have a front row seat to another species-wide realization that the last thing that we thought made us so uniquely human no longer makes us special. Until next time.
Now exiting the facility.
Thank you so much to the very nerdy staff here at the
I mean, this is what I've been saying since day one. So. I'm just happy people are taking it more and more seriously. Yeah. It's a big deal. Big goddamn deal. All right. I appreciate everyone who came through. We'll be back Wednesday with more content. Probably going to do the Wednesday longer form video stuff. Get to that kind of thing. And then Friday we're going to be talking again with Endless Cemetery. We talked to them a while back about AI, and they are experiencing some AI directly interacting with their life. So it'll be good to catch up, compare where we were on the previous convo with where we are now, and like that. And Endless is always great to talk to, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, we're going to raid Kaiputer. If you don't know Kaiputer does cybersecurity. An important aspect of all this is cybersecurity. Because if we don't protect the data, then it's even worse. Like, there's a bunch of things that have come out around. People have used LLMs to generate phishing emails and other things like that. Worm GPT, which we covered here on the show. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and I got most of that from Kaiputer. So they are absolutely a great resource, a great human being, and we'll see what they got going on. Great community. In the meantime, I will see you on Wednesday. Drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot. Chuggy loves you. So do I.